You hear a simple phrase, something you've heard before, but for some reason, in that moment, it breaks open a door within you, and nothing looks the same again. That's what a quantum leap is. It's not about wishful thinking. It's about absorbing enough energy for your consciousness to shift states, and suddenly perceive a reality that was always there. In physics, an electron jumps to a new orbit only when it absorbs a precise amount of energy. There's no gradual path. There is only before and after, and your consciousness does the same. You don't walk into a new reality. You become the version of yourself that already lives in it, and the outer world follows the inner shift. Today, you'll understand why the quantum leap is not a miracle, but an inevitable vibrational consequence, and how quantum physics, Hermeticism, and the Hermetic law of vibration together hide the key to transforming your life from the inside out. Picture a dark room. You flip a switch and, in a flash, the light turns on. The bulb doesn't brighten gradually. It shifts states in an instant, as if the darkness was never even real. That's the quantum leap. There's no halfway, only before and after. In physics, a quantum leap happens when an electron absorbs an exact amount of energy, called a quantum. It instantly jumps from one orbit to another inside the atom. What puzzles scientists is that this jump doesn't happen step by step. The electron vanishes from one layer and reappears in another without crossing the space in between. This phenomenon defies classical physics and led Niels Bohr, one of the fathers of quantum mechanics, to say, "If quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it yet." But the most unsettling part comes next. Where does the electron go when it disappears? Science still doesn't have a definitive answer. What we know is that during the jump, it enters a state of non-locality, a concept that defies both time and space. Non-locality means the electron is nowhere in particular. It exists as pure potential, a floating probability, until it reappears in a new orbit. David Bohm, a theoretical physicist who worked with Einstein, suggested that in this interval, the electron connects to what he called the implicate order, an unseen field where all possibilities already exist. Bohm stated, "The visible world is only the surface. Beneath it lies an invisible order, which contains everything that is, was, and could ever be." That's why the quantum leap became a powerful symbol of spiritual transformation. It represents the moment your consciousness absorbs enough energy to jump into a new state of being. No linear path, no logical process, just presence, vibration, and a collapse of your previous reality. But here's the mistake most people make. They believe a quantum leap is a sudden material event, like winning the lottery or meeting a soulmate overnight. In truth, the leap only occurs when your inner frequency becomes resonant with a new orbit, with a different level of reality. The Kybalion gives us the clue. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The law of vibration. And in the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes Trismegistus revealed, "The mind is the craftsman of forms. It turns the invisible into the visible." So here's the question. If you are like the electron, what determines which orbit your consciousness will leap into next? Who or what collapses the reality you end up experiencing? And another question echoes. If the leap depends on vibration, how can you step into a new world while still surrounded by proof of the old one? Imagine standing in front of a mirror. But this mirror doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your inner state. If you're filled with fear, it shows you chaos. If you're in peace, it mirrors harmony. Reality works the same way. It isn't neutral. It echoes who you're being. And this isn't just spiritual poetry. It's quantum physics. That's what the famous double slit experiment revealed. When electrons are not being observed, they behave like waves, as if they exist everywhere at once. But the moment someone observes them, they collapse into a single point. In other words, the observer's consciousness transforms potential into solid reality. That was the shock. Matter isn't a fixed substance, but a vibrational field that only becomes real when witnessed. The Corpus Hermeticum said it long ago. Matter is born from the contemplation of the mind. The visible world is the child of invisible attention. Centuries before laboratories, Hermes Trismegistus was already teaching. The world isn't made of things, but of ideas vibrating at different levels of density. It was Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, who confirmed this mystery. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force, and we must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious, intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. And here lies a truth science resisted for centuries. Reality doesn't pre-exist your gaze. It forms as you look at it, which means you're not just living in the universe, you're co-creating it, not as something separate, but as a living extension of the mind of the All. The Kybalions stated what few ever truly understood. The All is mind. The universe is mental. But this mind isn't your personal egoic mind. It is a universal consciousness, and you are a spark of that infinite flame. Every being, every level of awareness is interconnected, which means your desire never collapses reality alone. Because the universe doesn't answer only to your wishes. It seeks harmony across all consciousness. It respects the free will of every spark of the All. Your individual awareness holds power, but it does not override the cosmic intelligence that sustains the whole. So here's the deeper question. If your consciousness shapes reality, what within you defines the kind of reality you collapse? How can you tune in to a higher frequency of existence? The answer lies in your electromagnetic field. Picture yourself as a radio tower, constantly transmitting and receiving signals. If your frequency is off, all you pick up is static. But when your mind, heart, and actions align, you tune into something that was always there, but you had never noticed before. This is the true foundation of the quantum leap in consciousness. It's not about creating something from nothing. It's about becoming energetically compatible with a version of reality where what you desire already exists. According to the HeartMath Institute, the human heart emits an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times stronger than the brain's. This field is shaped by thought, electric frequency, and emotion, magnetic frequency. Together, they form your unique energetic signature. The Kybalion names it vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. So reality doesn't respond to what you ask for. It responds to who you are, vibrationally. Quantum physicist Amit Goswami puts it this way. Consciousness is the ground of all being. We are not mere observers of reality. We are co-creators, and it is the conscious choice that determines which possibility will be collapsed. But here's where most people get stuck. Positive thinking is not enough. You must feel differently, act differently, and do so long enough until your field truly changes. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a pioneer in epigenetics, proved the environment, including our thoughts and emotions, is what actually controls the activity of our genes. Change your perception, and you change your biology. Yes, your thoughts and feelings shape your DNA. And if they shape your body, they also shape the reality your body perceives. That's why any real vibrational shift demands inner coherence. Here are some practices that accelerate this inner shift. Ho'oponopono cleans your vibrational field by dissolving repetitive emotional patterns. Intentional meditation quiets the mind, and amplifies heart-brain coherence. Cognitive behavioral techniques. Rewire the mental habits that anchor negative frequencies. The more aligned your thoughts, emotions, and actions are, the greater your power to collapse new versions of reality. But even with this field active, you're not creating from scratch. You're simply tuning into what already exists in the universal field. So the question remains, how does this invisible tuner actually work? And who are you behind the vibration? Now imagine an old television with an antenna. The image only appears when you tune into the right frequency. The channel doesn't suddenly come into existence. It was always there, waiting for you to align the signal. Your consciousness works the same way, and every thought, every emotion, every action adjusts your dial. You don't invent reality. You simply tune in to one of the infinite versions already created by the All. The human brain has a filter called the Reticular Activating System, RAS. It decides what you perceive as real, and it only lets in what your consciousness already deems relevant. That's why, when you shift internally, you start noticing opportunities that were always around you. New people, unexpected paths. Reality doesn't shift from the outside in, it shifts from the inside out. Some skeptics, especially strict materialists, try to dismiss the idea that the mind shapes reality with a familiar challenge. If thought creates, why can't anyone manifest an apple just by imagining it? But what they don't understand is this: creation doesn't happen at the pace of the ego, but at the rhythm of consciousness. An ordinary human, filled with inner contradictions, can't sustain the coherent field required for instant manifestation. And that's not a failure, it's a safeguard. But masters like Jesus, who turned water into wine, reached such deep union with the All-El that their vibration collapsed reality with perfect coherence. And he himself said, "Greater works than these shall you do." Because he knew, the path of every spark is ascension, a conscious return to the source, until we too can say, "I and the Father are one." What people call a miracle is simply the reflection of an awakened consciousness operating in the frequency of creation. In the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes Trismegistus declared, "Man is a miracle, for he belongs both to the divine and to the mortal world. He can become like God if he recognizes within himself the origin of all things." In other words, the divine spark within you is the bridge between realms. It is the access point to everything the All has already manifested. Physics calls this the collapse of the wave function. You are the observer who selects one among infinite probabilities. But it's not the ego that chooses. It's not urgency or forced desire that transforms reality. It's the coherent, silent, subtle vibration that signals to the field, "I'm ready." And when that vibration holds long enough, you don't attract, you become. You embody the version of yourself that already lives what you desire. That's why the Kybalion says, "The student who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well on the path to mastery." The reality you live is a reflection of the inner state of your spark. The All has already created everything. Your role is not to force, but to remember who you are. But if everything already exists, if all realities are available, then what decides which one becomes real for you? Now we unveil the final mystery. The mind that sustains all realities is vibrating through you. Right now, think of a single drop falling into the ocean. It's still a drop. But now it's ocean too. It doesn't cease to exist. It simply stops seeing itself as separate. That drop is you. And the ocean is the All. Every experience, every reality, every level of consciousness emerges from within the mind of the All. Hermes Trismegistus described it with clarity. The All is infinite, living mind, universal, eternal, and alive. It holds the universe within its consciousness, just as man holds thoughts within his own. You're not living inside a disconnected material universe. You exist within a living mind, where every atom is an idea sustained by consciousness. Modern quantum physics is only beginning to glimpse this truth. Physicist David Bohm proposed that all visible reality arises from an implicate order, a hidden field of intelligent wholeness. This field is not chaotic. It is coherent. It is informed. It is mental. As Amit Goswami stated, it is not matter that creates consciousness. It is consciousness that gives rise to matter. And that consciousness, with a capital C, is the all itself. But if everything is held within this mind, why don't you experience everything? Because, as the Corpus Hermeticum reveals, man is a miracle. Within him lie all the forces of the world, but he sees only what is in harmony with his inner state. Your individual awareness is a fragment of the all, and it tunes into specific aspects of reality based on its vibrational frequency. But the totality, the coherence, the structure, the unified field, is always held by the one mind. That mind does not judge. It does not punish or reward. It only responds in harmony with the whole. And that's why, when you try to manifest from ego, fear, or lack, it simply doesn't collapse. Because the all is not your servant. It is a living, conscious, loving intelligence that only sustains what resonates with the whole. Your quantum leap doesn't depend on desire. It depends on the coherence between your inner spark and the one consciousness. So if everything already exists in the field of the all, if every version of reality is available, what exactly is preventing you from accessing them? And what shifts the moment you remember who you truly are? Everything you've lived so far has been a reflection of the frequency you held. You've learned that a quantum leap is not some instant miracle. It's the natural result of a profound shift in consciousness. Just like the electron that jumps orbits without a path, you too can shift realities, without warning, the moment you align vibrationally with the reality you long for. You've seen how reality collapses under observation, but not from just any gaze, from the vibrational presence behind that gaze. You now know your mind and your heart generate a real electromagnetic field, and that field either distorts or aligns the version of reality you experience. You've realized you don't create something new. You tune in to what already exists in harmony with the all. And now, you remember, there is a living, infinite, intelligent mind that sustains everything, including you. And that mind doesn't respond to ego desires. It responds only to what resonates with the whole of consciousness. You don't need to ask for a new life. You need to remember who you are and allow that remembrance to rearrange the field around you. So, close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, what version of reality is already available to me, but I haven't tuned into yet? If this video awakened something in you, like a memory your soul had buried, click like and subscribe. That simple action helps the algorithm recognize what you're ready to receive. It's not just a click, it's a resonance with your expansion. And if you want access to exclusive content, consider joining as a gold member and become part of our inner circle of initiates. If you're ready to go beyond theory and enter true transformation, you'll find the link to the ebook The Key to Prosperity in the pinned comment. But be aware, this is not a manual for manifesting wishes. It's a map to align your mind with the Hermetic laws and reshape your reality at the source level. And in the video linked above, 3 hidden Kybalion codes you missed that unlock your conscious power. You'll discover the deeper patterns that guide your soul's power to shape reality. That video is the next step on your path. Comment below. I tune into the reality. Let this be your vibrational seal, a conscious declaration to the field. Until the next step in consciousness.